Hi everyone and welcome to this video. By this time most of you have either heard of or noticed that the raiding content in Classic World of Warcraft have had its difficulty bumped by quite a bit. Gone are the days where every raider and their grandma went into a raid day one and cleared house, one-shotting most if not all of the bosses. And while this is a much wanted and needed change for most of us, there is one big problem that most are facing. Being hard stuck in your progression towards the final boss on the hardest difficulty. Currently that would be Yogg-Saron Zero Lights. And to many it can feel like you are lost. Am I not good enough to clear this content, or is it a few people in my group that is dragging everyone else down? And believe it or not, but there are actually ways to tell that you are or are not the problem in your guild's group. Maybe you tried looking at your own parses for a fight and saw that, yeah, I'm actually god tier or shit tier. Parses are, however, just a generalized overview of your overall performance. And this won't help you much if you don't know what is going wrong in your group. If you don't believe me, ask yourself this. How do I improve my raiding by just looking at my own parse? And the short answer is, you can't. The parse will only tell you how well you did compared to others playing your class and spec, but it won't tell you what you did better or worse. And this is because parses are not taking mechanics or support aspects into account. And guys, this might not be fun to hear, but it is needed to be said. Standing still and pressing one button rotations is not enough anymore. There is so much shit going on in Uldor that you need to be aware of that it can be overwhelming at times. So if parses will not help you improve, what can you do? There are three ways as I see it. You can either use the site called wipefest.gg, learn to read Warcraftlogs, or use the DBS system. More on that later. Wipefest, the good and the bad. Wipefest just recently launched a classic version of their site, and it's a really good tool for anyone starting out and trying to glance over what to improve in the raid team. It even gives you a personalized score depending on how well you did the mechanics of the fight. But as I'm writing this, there is a downside to the site. While they get their data completely correct, since to my understanding they are importing your logs to build the scoring system. And it, for the vast majority, will tell you what happened. The scoring system, however, should only be taken at face value. And this is because of the following three examples. And just a heads up, I won't go over everything that I found to be questionable or incorrect, since that would be an entire video in itself. On XT, Wipefest counts the Searing Lights damage you take and gives you a negative score based on that. This tells you that you fucked up because you took damage from the mechanic. But that is very incorrect. If you took damage from Searing Lights, it's not because you fucked up, the guy who got it fucked up. The one getting Searing Lights is supposed to move, not you. So, in reality, the guy should be penalized in the scoring, not you. On the assembly of Iron, Wipefest deducts static disruption from your score if you got hit by it. But the problem here is someone will always be hit by this. This is an unavoidable ability. It is not a skill issue, it is down to if you were the player furthest away from the boss. And you could make it so that 3 people are designated to soak this. But Wipefest can't determine this, as nothing in the logs imply that you were the soaker. On Hodier, Wipefest won't count your spread of storm power on 2 other players into the score, which is a core mechanic that really should be counted towards the score. But if you look into the summary page, you can see that it is tracked, but not in a complete way. They track how long it took to spread it and how many spread it. What they don't track is who spread the buff to what class. In this sense, it's equally valuable to spread this buff to a tank and a healer as it is to spread it to the ranged players. This is, however, completely false. Ranged benefits much more from this buff and they should be prior for it. And guys, I want to be very clear, this is nitpicking on Wipefest's score system. Overall, they have done really solid work to show how to improve your group. If you want to improve, here is where you start. With Wipefest covered, I'd like to shortly cover Warcraftlogs. Warcraftlogs is the most powerful tool you will ever have in terms of reading a raid fight. Combatlogs cover everything that happens in a raid fight. Damage taken, deaths from abilities, your damage done. Hell, they even cover everything down to the millisecond. And this is simply because of WoW's built-in combat logging system. More or less, when you enter a fight, in this case a raid boss, if you have used the command /combatlog, the game will log every ability happening during that fight until the log is turned off again. But as with most powerful tools, there is a downside to them. Warcraftlogs is not easy to get into, not even remotely, if you want to really get good use out of it. Sure, you can look up how many times you landed a hit on a boss, your uptime or your debuffs and such relatively easy. But did you also know that you can, and I'm looping back here to Hoodier, actually not only see who got some power on Hoodier, but also if you spread it to the correct player? Yes, the logs can tell you that, sort of. Or hell, how about Rune of Power? Did you know that you can not only see how long you had the buff for, but also see how much percentage of its total duration you had it for? Because what good is it if you know I had it for 30 seconds when the buff's total uptime could have been 1 minute or maybe 40 seconds? This is something the logs can tell you if you know what to look for and how to look for it. But with that said, what if I told you there is a third option? That this option would not only take the power of Warcraftlogs, but would simplify it so that anyone can use it. This, guys, is the DBS system. The DBS system is a tool that takes any log you import into it, converts it into a readable data and then gives you a score based on a few metrics built into it. And when I say any log, I mean you can import logs straight from Warcraftlogs into the system and it will tell you the data. And when I say anyone can use this tool, I mean it. It is its core purpose. Everything you see here, every single ability in this tool is hand configured with different parameters. And as much as I want to go into detail about how each ability works in this tool, it would take me actual hours to do so. So instead I will give you the highlights of this. Hoodier, Stormcloud, tracked down to the very player who got it and what role they spread it to. General Vezax, Mark of the Faceless spread to friendly targets. Meaning you can now see how much damage you spread to your friends, and as a bonus it tells you also how much you healed the boss for. Hoodier, Singed buff tracked down to its very core. How long it took to stack it on the boss, how many times people hit the boss with it, who hit the boss with it, and how long it was up for during the entire fight. The Iron Council, how long Rune of Power was up for and how much you personally utilized it. XT02, Searing Lights actually tracked correctly. If you did damage to your fellow raiders, everyone will now know that you did it and not the other way around. But guys, it gets better. How about if you had dedicated interrupters for the fights like Vesax? Or a specific Warlock tank for Mimron? Or what if you called a wipe and you don't want to see the results that happened after a call? All of this can be manually configured in the Parameters tab. And as you might have figured out, almost everything here is auto-tracked, but let's say you had to switch from tank to DPS or heal during a fight. Well, how this system is built is that you automatically get assigned a role and class based on the logs you uploaded. However, for every player in the raid you can change the role for every single boss fight as you yourself pleases. Simply go to manual overrides, find the boss and the player you want to change, click the grey or black square next to their name and select what they were in the raid. This will override the automated system and reassign them to the correct role. How it all works. So how does this actually work? What does the scores actually mean? Let me give you all a short overview of how to read this tool. Just keep in mind that I won't cover everything in this video, as this would make the video way longer than it already is. This is the main page you will be using to see how good your group did. In columns A and B you have the boss, its ability and what you are expected to do during it. So, if we take a look at Ignis, you can see that the top 4 abilities says hits taken. This means that the damage was avoidable. To the right of the boss abilities you have column C to AA. And this is what you are really interested in. In these columns are everyone that participated in the raid encounter. So if we take a look at, for example, player 14, which is my rogue, you can see that I have a score of 0%. This means I did not take a single hit from the boss's ability. But as we can see in this image, there are several black squares in the tracker with no score at all. Now, why is that? It's actually very simple. These squares means your role was excluded from the ability. So, if we look again at the top 4 abilities, we can see that player number 23 has all 4 abilities removed. And this is because he is a tank. A tank can't avoid these abilities. Meaning, if we counted him, his score would be absolute shit every single time. But guys, it goes the other way around too. If you look at Ignis Flamejets ability, you can see that I for one have a black bar on that ability. And this is because I can't get interrupted by it. Rogues don't have any abilities that needs to be channeled mid-combat. This would give me a perfect score every single time, even though I don't have to do anything. The future for the project. So, as some of you might have guessed by now, I am the one who created this system. Over the last 10 weeks, I've built daily on this tracker several hours each day. To put it into perspective, each ability you see on the character lookup page took me mostly anywhere from 6 to 24 hours to build. This is something I'd love to go further into and explain how and why it has taken so long to make each ability. But in short, I know jack shit about coding. All this I had to figure out by myself. But weird flex aside about me throwing away my entire social life for this project, Here is where I want to tell you all something that is the most important part about this project. From the very start of this project, I never intended it to be a closed system that no one could edit. This project is 100% open source. And I've done it in this way because it first of all gives much more credibility to the project when anyone can scrutinize it, take it apart and see how it works and if things are wrong with it. And second of all, anyone being able to improve it and build upon it or make branches of it makes the project much better in the long run for everyone. And thirdly, it's free. Everyone loves free shit. And guys, if there are any of you out there who is good with Google Sheets or much better SQL, please send me a PM if you are interested in helping out or building your own branch based on this tracker. I am intending on making a video explaining exactly how the code works and how to pull the data down from Warcraftlogs to make this tracker work. Oh, by the way, if you know code or SQL, then this project will give a good laugh. The amount of fucking unoptimized spaghetti this code contains is so fucking vast that this whole thing isn't working is nothing short of a small miracle. But let's say you don't know Google Sheets, Excel or SQL. Is there any other way you can help? Of course there is. Every part of this project is simply me coming up with what I think is important besides tracking every single possibility that comes with a tracker. But things like, let's say, for rogues. For every other class in the game, I have excluded the score on the defensive cooldown usage for almost every boss fight, except for rogues. This is because we have an ability called Feint. This ability reduces our AoE damage taken by 50% for 6 seconds. Couple that with the fact that it has a 10-second cooldown, you should be popping it on every single AoE ability like Collapsing Stars, Agalon or Tantrums on XT. Rogue is my main. It has been my main since all the way back in Mists of Pandaria. Well, before that too, but I never raided really before Mists of Pandaria, so I don't count that. With that said, I am somewhat an expert on this class, not on the level as Summonize, but good enough. But the problem is, this is the only class I know in and out. If you have similar things that your class can do, like negating damage as an example, please hit me up and tell me about it and I will try to implement it into the tracker. This video was just a preview on what this tracker is and can do. I'm going to release a video on how to use this tracker in hopefully the near future. And with that said, I want to leave you all with one more thing. This project does not end with World War. I am fully intending to build a separate tracker for each raid coming from this tier and forwards. And I'm also fully intending on replaying everything up to the very end of Mists of Pandaria, so this tracker will go on until the end of MOP. Unless Blizzard stops making Classic after Wrath. We never know, hopefully they don't. Thank you all for watching and good luck out there with the raids.